All right, let's dive into this. Elon Musk, a name we have become all too familiar with, recently found himself at the heart of another media whirlwind. This time, it revolves around an 80-minute meeting he had at the Pentagon with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Now, according to official statements, the purpose of this meeting was to discuss innovation and ways to enhance efficiency within the Department of Defense. Straightforward enough, right? Well, not quite. The waters were muddied almost immediately when reports citing anonymous sources began to circulate that Musk was set to be briefed on the U.S.'s highly classified contingency plans for potential conflict with China. These plans, reportedly detailed in a 20 to 30 slide presentation, allegedly outlined everything from early warning systems to specific Chinese targets. Play this clip.
Hegseth's larger office suite, I would call it. It's sort of his office, and then there's a couple of conference rooms, a dining room outside of it. That appears to be where they stayed for the entire hour and a half or so. He departed about 10:20 a.m. Now, we don't have a whole lot of fidelity about what was discussed here, but defense officials said what was expected was that they would discuss a number of different topics, including DOGE, including cuts to the Department of Defense, and that there would be a briefing on China. But the officials said it was expected to be unclassified. But here's where this all could be coming together with some of the reporting about Elon Musk receiving some information about operational plans, about war plans with China. And that is that there could have been questions and discussions that would include some of the involvement or some of the elements of war with China. So that would include things like targeting, the sort of assets that the U.S. would have, the sort of things that China could bring to a conflict. So we kind of have to live a little bit in the gray here about what was expected to be discussed here, Sinclair. And it's important to point out they did not meet in the tank as expected. We believe they stayed upstairs in the Secretary's office the entire time.
Navigating a lot of gray these days. Courtney Kube, Garrett Haake, thank you both.
And the Trump administration were quick, emphatic in denying these claims. Musk, never one to mince words on social media, called the report pure propaganda and went as far as to demand prosecutions for those he presumed to be Pentagon leakers. President Trump echoed these sentiments, deeming the story completely untrue and insisting that no such briefing ever occurred. We all know that the word of the co-presidents, Trump-Musk, carries about the same value as a Venezuelan bolivar. And if you don't know, when comparing the Venezuelan bolivar to the U.S. dollar, the Venezuelan bolivar is worth about 14 cents. But let's unpack this further. What fuels a situation like this? For one, the role of anonymous sourcing. It's a double-edged sword, is it not? On one hand, anonymity allows whistleblowers to expose potential wrongdoing without fear of retaliation. On the other, it often places us, the public, in a precarious position, unsure whether to trust these unverified narratives. Musk himself highlighted this uncertainty, framing the leaks as part of a broader, malicious agenda to spread misinformation. A bold claim, no doubt, but one that resonates with his supporters. Then there's the scrutiny this meeting has brought onto the Pentagon itself. Skeptics question why Musk, a private citizen with extensive business dealings in China, would even be present in such high-level government discussions. This isn't just about classified war plans, it's about transparency and public trust. How much do we really know about these closed-door conversations, and who, ultimately, holds the decision-makers accountable? And let's be honest, the media frenzy is not helping. The clash between official denials and explosive headlines only fuels public curiosity and suspicion. The Trump administration, for its part, seems eager to deflect, describing the whole ordeal as fake news designed to undermine its relationship with Musk. But for us, ordinary Americans watching this unfold, well, it all feels a bit too convenient, does it not? So, here we are, caught in the middle of official narratives, media allegations, and a growing pressure for accountability. It's a lot to untangle, and it leaves us asking one crucial question. Who benefits from stories like these, and at what cost to the nation's trust in its institutions? Now let's examine Musk's financial interests and how they intersect, quite precariously, I might add, with matters of U.S. national security. For starters, Tesla. Musk's flagship company operates two massive facilities in Shanghai, and last year, these sites alone accounted for more than half of the company's global production. That's enormous. These Chinese-based operations mean one thing: China holds significant leverage over Tesla's success. If we're connecting dots, it's possible to see how economic reliance might expose Musk to undue influence. And I use the word undue with emphasis. Then we've got SpaceX. On the surface, it's a success story. Rapid advancements, reliable launches, Starlink networking. The problem? It's also deeply intertwined with U.S. defense contracts. Billions of taxpayer dollars fund projects that SpaceX handles, including satellite launches and military communication systems. So here we have a company critical to national security, but owned by someone with substantial exposure to foreign markets that don't necessarily align with U.S. interests. And let's not forget Musk's newly minted Department of Government Efficiency. While the Department of Government Efficiency sounds frankly absurd, it's driving some weighty decisions, like cutting hundreds of federal jobs and restructuring budgets that directly impact agencies like the Pentagon. Some might label this progress. Others might see it as wielding too much influence over vital public resources. Either way, the head of the Department of Government Efficiency has enormous pull in shaping government priorities. Here's the real disquieting question, though. What happens when these roles overlap? With one hand, Musk is navigating defense strategies and federal spending. With the other, Tesla's gigafactories are pushing products in a country with rising geopolitical tensions against the United States. Do you see the conflict here? Because it's glaring, isn't it? If there's even a sliver of potential vulnerability, can the U.S. afford to risk sensitive decision-making or security oversight in his hands? And about those risks, this isn't just my speculation. Analysts have pointed out that Musk's proximity to sensitive data, coupled with his business dependencies on foreign relationships, creates an impossible tightrope. Can someone genuinely serve national defense interests while simultaneously being tethered to China's market forces? It's like trying to balance on quicksand. On one side, there's innovation, efficiency, and arguably patriotic contributions to military infrastructure. On the other, there's significant room for compromise, intentional or otherwise. This duality is more than conflicting. It's dangerous. So, let's talk about the elephant, or maybe I should say the billionaire in the room, shall we? Elon Musk. His pivot from entrepreneur to high-level government influencer has raised some serious eyebrows, not just in the media, but in political circles too. And why wouldn't it? When you hear senators like Elizabeth Warren and Tammy Duckworth calling out potential conflicts of interest, it's hard not to take notice. Their concerns cut through the noise, highlighting the risks of private interests colliding with public governance. Specifically, these lawmakers question whether someone with Musk's financial stakes, particularly in markets like China, can truly act in the best interest of U.S. national security. In a letter, they demanded answers about what Musk has been privy to and whether those disclosures cross any ethical or legal lines. Now, whether or not you politically align with them, you've got to admit these are valid concerns. If there's no accountability here, what precedent does that set? And then there's the media's role in shaping this narrative. Figures like Rachel Maddow pull no punches, framing Musk as emblematic of the tensions between corporate ambitions and government trust. She's described his actions as not just symptoms of systemic inefficiencies, but an outright manipulation of them. Strong words, I know, but when you look at how Tesla's dependence on one regime contrasts with SpaceX's dependency on another, her critique starts to feel less like hyperbole and more like a mirror reflecting some uncomfortable truths. But let's zoom out for a second. This isn't just about Musk. It's about the broader framework, or lack thereof, that governs how public institutions interact with private power. How do we ensure transparency when those at the helm exist in a gray area, operating with one foot in corporate gain and the other in public service? Without clear answers, trust in these institutions continues to erode. And that erosion isn't something we can afford in these turbulent times. Ultimately, this points to the importance of advocacy. The public has a role here, a voice to demand accountability and insist on checks and balances that prevent any one individual or corporation from monopolizing influence. That's the heart of any democracy, isn't it? Ensuring that power serves people, not just profits. That wraps up today's episode of The Real 411. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for tuning in and for your continued support. It means more than you know. If you found value in today's discussion, please drop a comment. Follow us on all social media platforms and let us know what topics you'd like to see us cover next. Be sure to sign up for our email newsletter so you never miss an update or exclusive insight. And if you believe in independent media, media that digs deeper and dares to tell the truth, please consider following The Real 411 on Substack and Fanbase. We offer both free and paid subscriptions, and your support helps us continue producing content that informs, empowers, and sparks real conversation. Thanks again for being part of this journey. Because remember, the story is never just the headline. Until next time, stay informed, stay bold, and stay real.